We've had 2 releases since you guys were last year. We had 7.9.5 and we had 8.0. And not everything up here is wireless, but that's, as Monty was describing, because the OmniPeak itself is both a wired and wireless analyzer. So I won't spend a lot of time on the features that aren't wired, but definitely wanted to bring them up just to be sure. We certainly have the software now designed to handle AC at gigabit speeds. Using our remote adapters and using PCAP. That was all in 7.9.5. And we made a lot of additions to our Compass dashboard, some of which we'll show when we show some of the live data around displaying signal strength and noise, data rates, latencies, and that kind of thing. And then with 8.0, which just came out within the last month or so, we added some new timestamping support for network packet brokers. We've added expert events in Compass, and that pertains to both wired and wireless. We'll talk a little bit about experts later on and the wireless specific ones, specifically, but show you how those can easily be used in doing analysis. VoIP stats when we're writing, very, very quickly to disk. Some new licensing around something we call OmniPeak Remote Assistant, which we probably won't talk too much about here today. Some filtering additions around MPLS and VLAN, forensics and Compass performance improvements. The forensics improvements were big, and that's again for our high-speed networks, and then improved VoIP. But lastly, there's this little feature, and I stuck it at the end because it does seem little. We added support in Tcpdump. We already had a Tcpdump adapter. We added support for wireless. And one of the things that we realized once we added the wireless support for Tcpdump was that might actually help us out at least a little on the whole notion of running on the Mac. So I'm going to turn it over to Chris for a few minutes, and Chris is going to show you how we're able to leverage the internal chipset for either the MacBook Air or the MacBook Pro when you're running OmniPeak under one of the VMs without having to use any sort of external dongles now or anything else. You'll be able to take advantage of the 3-stream if you have 3-stream inside of your Mac. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chris for a little bit, and
you made me very happy.
Hopefully it helps. Yeah. And actually the little bits, as Chris is getting ready, the little bits that you need, there's one little plugin you would need to install to make that happen. That's on the little USB things that you got. So, and Chris will kind of talk a little bit more about that.
So, hi there, my name's Chris Bloom. I'm the engineering manager here, and I've been here like 15 years. And I think I met most of you guys last year, and we talked a lot about some of the wireless innovations that we had done. We've done, and since then, one of them, as Jay mentioned, and I'm glad he mentioned that about the Tcpdump remote adapter, because although he mentioned first we're going to show you something cool on the Mac, really that's just the vehicle that I'm going to use to show you the Tcpdump remote adapter. It happens to be most cool on the Mac. So we've had a Tcpdump remote adapter for a very long time, and what it does, it's a plug-in. Like we have many different adapters like the Maru and the Cisco and those adapters that allow you to collect packets from other sources. They are all, or at least most of them, are very specific to a particular vendor where you are collecting from one of those devices. The Tcpdump remote adapter is really unique in that it's not about a specific vendor. It's about being able to connect to any Linux device through an SSH connection and running Tcpdump remotely on that device, and then streaming the packets back of course through SSH in real time back into OmniPeak. So we've had this available for a long time, and another cool little feature about it is you can actually set BPF filters to run on the remote device because you don't want to clog your pipe with stuff that you're not interested in. So all that's been very cool. And then recently, when we started working with AC, and where we're trying to come up with more devices to collect AC packets for, and as you know in the industry, that over the past year, that's what everybody's been wanting, and we have a couple of those with our Omni Wi-Fi and some other. Well, that's in, but we've come up with some one-stream devices, and others have come up with maybe 1 or 2, but we realized that on the MacBook and the Mac Air, they've got this Broadcom chipset that, on the Mac Air, it's a 2-stream device, and on the MacBook Pro, it's a 3-stream device. And so I started banging my head against the wall trying to figure out how we could get packets from that device. And then it hit us. It's Linux. So we taught our Tcpdump remote adapter to be wireless. So in general, that was great because it now meant that the same TCPdump remote adapter we've been using for years to collect wired packets from these Linux devices could be used to collect wireless packets. But specifically, it meant that we could now run the TCPdump remote adapter in an OmniPeak that's running on a Mac in either VMware or Parallels and capture the packets directly from that Broadcom chipset. And that's what I'm going to show you today. Now, I only happen to have a Mac Air, which is 2-stream, but if I had a MacBook, of course, that would allow me to capture the 3-stream packets. So here, as you can see, so I've got OmniPeak running on the Mac, and you look here, just show you the adapter that I have selected. If you're not familiar with the TCPdump remote adapter, you can go to, all you got to do is go to Google and type WildPackets TCPdump remote adapter, and then the top link will be to our MyPeak portal, which is where we have lots of cool plugins like this, and you can go there and you can read all about it. We've also put the TCPdump remote adapter, the new wireless version, on your memory sticks, along with instructions on how to configure your Mac to work with it. So in your spare time, you can load that up and use it yourself. So I've got it loaded up here, and basically when you say, give me a new adapter, you do all the configuration, which is basically giving it the IP address of your own machine. And once you do that, let's see, you will you'll synchronize, and it's pretty amazing. It actually goes out and queries your Mac for all the devices that it has, wired and wireless, and will show you those devices, those adapters, those interfaces, whatever you want to call them, right there. And now that we've added support for wireless, you will see that. See, which one do I have selected? In this case, I've got the EN0 device selected, and that's what's currently selected here. And I will go ahead and just say start TCPdump, and there we go. I'm now capturing traffic. I'm capturing those packets. I'll show you. So the traffic here it is in Compass. Here's the wireless protocols. There's all kinds of ways, of course, which Jay will be going over to see the traffic. But the most important thing is the packets themselves. If you look at the number of spatial streams, in this case, like I said, this is a 2-stream device. So although we do have 3-stream traffic out there, which you'll be seeing later, in this case, I've actually got some 2-stream traffic, and the data rate in this case is 130. And just to give you, let's see, a little sense of kind of traffic I'm getting, there's a lot of 1-stream traffic, but you can see there's 2-stream traffic intermixed. Right now, I believe that I'm running that. Oh, let's see. Somebody went full screen on this. How do I get out of full screen in Parallels? I probably say
top right.
Top right. There we go. Thank you. Whoa. Okay, that's Parallels. I just wanted to show you, as I'm capturing in Parallels, here is OmniPeak running in VMware at the same time.
We don't see you.
Oh.
I want to swipe your screen. Or
Whoops. Do I have to?
That's the hurricane hitting Hawaii right now.
It sounds good, though.
So what you're saying is you're running two
Did it show up now?
instances of the virtual NIC, and they're both pulling from it.
Yeah, and I mean, it's with Parallels and VMware, I could run as many instances of those as I wanted and run OmniPeak in all of them at the same time, and it's amazingly fast, actually.
So if you're running Windows on Boot Camp instead of there, do you also have a driver to access that same Broadcom chip?
You could do it in the same way. You would,
So
you would
go
connect
through
to
the
your
remote.
same IP address, right? But it's all basically loop back, and so it would be as fast as your internal networking hardware can go, which should be at least a gig. I assume it's all gig capable. I just wanted to make the point that I was running VMware. That we can do this in both VMware and Parallels. I don't have boot camp, so I haven't tried it in that. And that's pretty much it. Anybody have any questions about that?
Will we ever see multi-channel capture? I know the limitations, right? But got to throw it out there. I mean, you guys are the experts. Is that something that?
Well, we do have a multi-channel aggregator. That is a
11AC.
You could certainly aggregate from multiple AC channels if you have multiple AC adapters. That will work today for both our AP solutions as well as our built-in USB adapters. So,
Okay, but 3x3.
So you
Three
could take
spatials.
3 MacBook Pros,
okay,
right?
thanks.
And you could use the solution. You could feed them all into one,
You could do that, right?
right? I mean, and
Expensive
that would
solution,
be
but you could do
AC
that.
multi. That would be.
Well, you would run into time syncing issues, I'm sure.
Well, you don't, because we take the timestamp here. We have experimented with taking the timestamps from the APs, and yes, you do run into issues because they're not all completely synchronized. So we decided, a while back, that we'll always take the timestamp. So you don't run into the timestamp synchronization issues, but it's not. But what you do run into is the fact that it's not the timestamp that it was received on the AP. It's the timestamp that the packet makes it all the way here to OmniPeak.
But to clearly and honestly ask the question about 3-stream portable, right? So we have a 1-stream device today that's at AE6000. We're actually working right now on a 2-stream device. It's a commercially available Raylink based again. We're testing that right now. 3-stream, there aren't any commercial that we know of. We're trying to work with some of our other closer partners in the wireless industry to maybe group together to try and get custom work done on a 3-stream adapter. The problem right now so far is the quotes for custom work on a 3-stream adapter would price these 3-stream adapters to where I'm not sure you'd want to buy the 3-stream adapters. So that's still something that we're all trying to work out.
Thanks, Jay.
Is there a reason behind that? I mean, is it really something that's so difficult that it's going to cost all this R&D dollars?
Well, I think part of it right now is it's the combination of USB 3.0 and the AC itself is part of that combination. That's what we ran into. That's where we really ran into it with the last vendor we talked to. If we had been okay with a 2.0 USB 2.0 solution, they would have had something for us pretty quickly. But for whatever reason, whatever set of interfaces and shims they had to put together to go from 3.0 USB, to 802.11 over, converting from USB to PCI or vice versa, because that's the other thing. It would have to be a PCI-based chipset right now, so there has to be a conversion to USB, and so that whole thing made it very complicated, at least so far. I'm not an expert in that area, so maybe there's things that would change in the industry to make that better, as time goes on. But that's certainly been the kind of the hiccup so far.
So what happened to looking at Thunderbolt as a bus? I mean, Thunderbolt's available on a variety of platforms, and it seems to support the bandwidth requirements and needs for doing something like that.
Now, we haven't looked at Thunderbolt as a bus so far because we've mainly been, I think, a Windows-based.
Even most most Lenovo's, all the new thin and light machines, they all have Thunderbolt ports on them, don't they?
No.
Mini
DisplayPort. I
Mini
suppose
DisplayPort.
they have. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but there aren't like wireless LAN Thunderbolt devices, right? Or at least not very many, if there are any. And that's really what we need. Right? We need the device that supports the port.
Right, I'm not aware of any vendors out there that have wireless devices that connect through Thunderbolt. I mean, I think if we knew of one, that we'd certainly look at that.
That was the point, is why, if you guys have the connections and you're looking in and talking with these people and trying to figure out a solution, why does Thunderbolt not come into the table as a potential possibility for using as a connectivity method instead of USB.
Thunderbolt is inherently PCI, right? So
Yeah, I mean, possible. I think part of the reason so far is because USB is so prevalent. It's easy to get USB hubs, right? Because people are still going to want to do, aggregation, right? So are there going to be Thunderbolt hubs that are going to break out one Thunderbolt port into 3, so you can do aggregation with 3 devices? There's just USB is a tried and true, and this other, Thunderbolt would be pretty new. We could certainly go down that path. It's great feedback, and I'll certainly start asking some questions about that with vendors. Part of it as well with this, part of what drives up the cost in doing this is USB adapters just aren't going to be very popular going forward, right? I mean, the reason that they exist is to make non-802.11 devices 802.11. Well, the number of non-802.11 devices is dropping rapidly. I mean, everything's got Wi-Fi built in, so why do you need USB adapters at all? So you're finding less and less manufacturers even wanting to make them.
Yeah, I guess the other big challenge too. I mean, Wave 2 is right around the corner, right?
Well, that's it. And where we're getting asked about 4-stream. A lot of the 4-stream, a lot of the AP manufacturers saying, "What do you have for 4-stream?" Well, your AP. You're gonna have to find out, find a way to take that AP, especially if you're a manufacturer, convert it into a sensor, and then you can capture all the 4-stream AP you want. But we're not going to find a 4-stream adapter anytime soon. So it's a bit of a struggle.